Hello, friends. So, the American Song Contest is quickly upon us. It premieres Monday the 21st at 7 Central U.S. time. 7 Central is my time, if you didn't know. And as a Eurovision fan from the United States, I feel compelled to discuss this and then to react to the rehearsals for the first heat semi-final. I don't know what they're calling it. So if you just want to see the reaction, skip ahead. But if you want to have a glass of wine with me and talk through some things, I want to talk through the structure of the contest. I want to talk through what we can imagine the songs might entail, and then who we think the audience for this contest is going to be. So if you want to chat and have a glass of wine with me, watch through the whole thing and then we'll react. If you want to skip ahead, I'll try to put a chapter in the timeline. So, as most of you probably know, especially if you're coming over and just watching this for my Eurovision reactions, the American Song Contest is based on the ever popular Eurovision Song Contest that takes place in Europe and involves mostly European countries, but some countries that are either arguably or unarguably non-European, i.e. Australia, Israel, Azerbaijan, Armenia, even Cyprus to certain people. And so this is kind of a spin-off show to that. Now, of course, it's going to be different. So it looks like, so the way that the American Song Contest is going to work is every U.S. state and territory, and I think that's an important point to make, is going to send an artist. Much like at Eurovision, each country sends an artist. The songs also have to be original, just like at Eurovision. However, I'm not sure if the instrument rule is the same, if they're allowed to have live instruments or not. I don't know about that. But the songs will compete in a number of heats or semifinals or whatever you want to call them. And then ultimately it will culminate in a grand final, I think the week before the Eurovision week in May. So initially, when I heard about this contest, I was super skeptical. I've been a Eurovision fan for years now. And so when I heard about this, I'm like, United States, please, let's not be embarrassing. Like, I was afraid that this would be another American Idol, Voice, you name it, Masked Singer, whatever, gimmick competition show. There are enough of those in the world. And I was afraid this would be another one. But as we've seen more publicity come out about this contest, my intrigue has actually been piqued more and more. I would say from the time that the artists were released, when we got to find out who the artists were for each state and territory, at that point I said to myself, okay, this could be interesting because it is a wide array of artists and styles of music that appear to be represented in this. And so it looks like from the format and from the array of artists that it will be something much more akin to Eurovision than to like an American Idol Voice thing. So that made me happy to see. Additionally, when I saw that the hosts were Kelly Clarkson and Snoop Dogg, I was like, oh no, this is another, like I said, American Idol, The Voice type thing. But thankfully, those fears have been assuaged a little bit since. Moving on from talking about kind of the structure, one thing that interests me is thinking about the songs themselves. At Eurovision, as anyone who's watched Eurovision knows, and if you haven't, I certainly encourage you to check it out because that's the OG song contest. But at Eurovision, a huge part of the diversity in the contest is based off of kind of ethno-geographic boundaries, right? In Europe, much more so than in a place like the US, which is a much younger country. Ethnic boundaries correspond more solidly with national boundaries. And so you get characteristically Spanish songs from Spain, characteristically Azeri songs from Azerbaijan, characteristically Swedish songs from Sweden. A lot of the times, not all the time, but a lot of the time. In the US, it's a different context. And so what I'm curious about is what will drive the types of songs that are sent. Because ethno and really ethno-racial boundaries don't correspond in a very strong way with certain states, right? Of course, certain states are whiter than others. Certain states have have a larger Hispanic population, larger Black population, whatever. But it's more of an even spread with a little bit of everybody everywhere. So I'm trying to think through what might define the songs. One thing I do think region will play a big part. And this is kind of similar to Europe. You know, you have your Southern European Mediterranean vibes, and then the Mediterranean countries in the West. You have your, Scandinavian countries. You have your countries of the Caucasus plus Israel, send things with kind of a Middle Eastern influence a lot of the time. And so I do think region will play a big role in the American Song Contest. Specifically, you think about a place like the South versus the West Coast, the Midwest, the Northeast. Each has kind of its own regional identity that I think will go into the types of songs that are sent. In addition, territories, Puerto Rico, Guam, all of these places have their own identities as well, as kind of micro regions to themselves. But another thing that I think will play a big role in the American Song Contest is this kind of rural versus urban dichotomy. I think through states like, Wyoming, Idaho, even Kansas to a lesser extent, that are pretty characteristically rural states. And I feel like the songs that they send will probably be rooted in the rural worldview. Not to say that it's going to be country music for all of them, but rooted in some way in experiences of a more rural worldview that represent the majority of that state's populace better. Whereas you think of like a New York State, a Georgia, Florida, even a place like Louisiana, and you think of perhaps a more urbanized population in general. So there are certainly rural components, but I do think that rural-urban dichotomy will also help to kind of characterize which songs that states tend to send. But even that is not an easy dividing line, because even states that are largely rural often have one or two big cities. So I think it'll be so interesting to see what kind of defines which state sends which songs. And that's something that we will see a little bit here when we react to the rehearsals for the first heat. So the last thing I want to discuss is who the audience for this show is going to be. Now, I think a large part of the audience for this show are going to be Eurovision fans that see a contest that's going to be similar in structure to Eurovision and want to see, do they do it right? Does it pay justice to Eurovision? What are the distinguishing points that make it unique? And does that also make it, enjoyable for me as a Eurovision fan? I mean, that's where I'm coming at it from. This may or may not attract me if I never knew about Eurovision. But now that I do know about Eurovision, I'm absolutely interested to see what this ends up looking like and if this will continue for year upon year. But I do think that there is a demographic from the US that will watch this, maybe never having heard of Eurovision, who are interested in those kind of competition style shows. And because of that, I think this is a nice introductory way to familiarize them with the style of show that Eurovision is, and I'm sure there will be plugs for Eurovision in this show. I'm certain of that because it was put together by people from the Eurovision world. And so I think this is a great way to introduce the idea, the concept of Eurovision, because it's such a foreign concept. It's not a show where people come on singing covers, auditioning for judges, right? Each country sends its own unique song, its own original song, to a competition that's much more like the Olympics of the voice and the performance than it is like an American Idol or The Voice. And so I think this is a really apt way to familiarize an audience that may not know about Eurovision with the with the style of Eurovision, so that when hopefully some of those people do end up watching Eurovision, maybe even this year, they kind of understand what's going on in terms of the structure of the show and why certain songs are being sent from certain countries, things like that, in a way that they definitely would not have if this didn't exist. So, enough talking. Let's go ahead and react to the rehearsals for the first heat of the American Song Contest. The states competing in Heat 1 of the American Song Contest are Arkansas, Connecticut, Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Puerto Rico, sorry, I should say the states and territories, Puerto Rico, Rhode Island, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. So those are the states participating in Heat 1. Now, before I get into the reaction, what I need to say, I need to tell y'all who I have to root for. Of course, you know, with Eurovision, you always try to root for your own country. And so I got to tell you who I am rooting for in terms of the American Song Contest. I'm from Kansas originally, so gotta root for Kansas. Go Kansas, yeah. T-Town, top city in the house. I currently live in Missouri, and I went to college in Missouri, in Kansas City specifically. Currently live in Kansas City, where I went to college, so go Missouri, go us. And then I went to graduate school in North Carolina, so go NC. So those are kind of the three that I'm rooting for based off of my own life. But let's see who we might root for based off of quality of song from this first heat. I'm so excited. I am excited. Now that I've seen the structure, this will be interesting. Okay, first is Arkansas with Kelsey Lamb, Never Like This. I love the staging right away. It captures my attention. It seems really organic. And I love her styling too. Everything just ties together. And this is a style of country that I can like because I love her voice. Okay, next we have Indiana, UG Skywalking, Loving My City. Interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of this. Now don't get me wrong, I love rap. I think it might be the auto-tune over the vocals. Iowa. Oh! Hold up, I kind of like this. I like her voice a lot. Ooh, yes. Girl power, my friend. I know that's right. I like this. That was cute. Minnesota, Ready to Go. Okay, he looks like a little cute fella. Interesting. Cool looking staging. Song is not so compelling to me. Ooh, come on, backing vocal. Oh, I like that. I love her vocal. You can hear a twanginess in it. Okay, Mississippi. I'm liking this. Oklahoma, Alexa, Wonderland. Now this kind of looks like a Eurovision stage. Obviously there are a few more people than at Eurovision, but it looks like, you know, a concept you could see at Eurovision. Quality. Oh, Puerto Rico. This melody reminds me of something. It's, that's Rockabye by Sean Paul and someone else. You know what I'm talking about. Rhode Island, the smallest state. Oh, he's bringing a vocal. I'm a fan. But I like that it's over an interesting produced track. I'm sorry, I didn't see what state this was. Wisconsin. I get the throwback vibes. I get that. This one's not for me as much, though the stage is cute for what it is, with the little like go-go dancer. Wyoming. Hold up. Not the hip hop country. I might like this. I might like what Wyoming is sending. Okay, y'all, you know what? I think that seals the deal. I'm kind of into this. You know, we'll see at the end of the whole contest how it turns out, but I'm kind of into this because it's not like we're getting 50 just generic radio pop songs. Like, you know, some states are sending things that are a little bit on the generic side that could be sent by anyone. But like Wyoming's doing a hip hop country mashup thing. Puerto Rico's obviously doing a thing that resonates culturally with Puerto Rico. Sorry, there's a train going by. We know you're here. I know they have to do that. Though it wasn't the melody of it reminded me of another song a little bit too closely and I didn't love it. Not saying it's derived from that, but just saying like it was too similar for me. I really liked Arkansas. I really liked Arkansas' song with Kelsey Lamb. Honestly, that might be a jam that I listen to. I didn't realize that Connecticut was sending Michael Bolton, who I actually don't know if I know that I should know the name, but I don't know why. And then Mississippi I really liked too. I was a big fan of Mississippi. It was fiery, it was hot, there was a twang in the vocal. So it had those characteristic kind of deep South elements, but it wasn't too what you would expect. And then Oklahoma was really quality. Like I said, that one was one I could imagine even on a Eurovision stage. And Rhode Island too. I really liked a lot of these. I liked a lot of these. Of course, they all have kind of collectively an American flair to them. Like it feels like an American contest, not a European contest. But overall, I'm pretty damn impressed. I'm pretty impressed. So let me know what you think. Which are your favorites? Give me a top 3. Give me a top 3. I'm not sure how many advance from this, but give me a top 3. And anyway, hopefully if you are not subscribed, and maybe you're not a Eurovision fan, subscribe because my main MO is Eurovision. And if you want to learn more about it after we get through this contest or as we get into it, you know I'm going to be here for you then. So anyway, thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for watching this video. And as always, I'll see you next time.